So, welcome to the first episode of the Hentai Literature Club that is going to be part of the Monster Girl Month series, where not only are we going to have 4 episodes of the Hentai Literature Club where we only talk about the Monster Girl tag. Chaz and I are basically going to be doing an early version of NaNoWriMo for the month of October. For those of you who don't know what NaNoWriMo is, it's National Write a Novel Month, where you, in the course of the month of November, write a 50,000 rough draft of a novel. Chaz and I are going to do that for October, and we'll do NaNoWriMo and do something else. But for Monster Girl Month, Chaz and I are going to write basically a 50,000 word erotica Monster Girl novel. Each of us different stories that will serialize either on the CavCon Tumblr or somewhere else that you can find easily in the description of this podcast, wherever you're listening to it. And in addition, Anna and Melinda are going to be participating in Inktober, where they're going to be drawing Monster Girls, so make sure to check out their Twitters. Alright, welcome back to another episode of the Hentai Literature Club, where here we look at hentai through the lens of literary criticism. I am your host, Josh from Caffeinated Conquests. And what we're going to be doing this month for October, it's going to be Monster Girl Month. So we're going to have 4 episodes with 4 different kind of Monster Girls, because Monster Girl is such a huge tag, you can't just talk about it in one episode. And plus, it fits the theme of the month of Halloween, because what else says Halloween more than sexy monster girls? So let's go around and introduce our panelists. Today we have the Weeb King himself, Adam.
Hey guys, I'm Adam. I guess head of I'm going to just switch over to majors to head of the Kendo Club. So.
Alright, Adam is now head of the Kendo Club in the CavCon University.
Yeah.
I'm Linda. I guess I'm second in line for Weeb. For Weeb King.
I guess.
I'm also Chaz's girlfriend, and I stream on Twitch at Gothiataku, and that's it.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Chaz LaBelle. I am an author. I am the storyteller for our World of Darkness actual plays here on Caffeinated Conquests. Just about everything I do is related to literature telling a story in some way. And I'm super up my own ass about that.
No, and today we also have a special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey,
it's your boy Pedro.
Pedro.
A fellow hentai enthusiast.
Do you want to introduce him?
So, a few of you guys might remember, some of our longtime listeners might remember, I actually told a story about my best friend in high school, Pedro, on the the trap/cross-dressing episode. And I recently reconnected with him, and I was like, dude, you gotta do the podcast with us, you gotta. And don't worry, I'm about to even up the score, because tonight, I'm going to tell an embarrassing story of my own that only Pedro knows. Because literally, me and this fucker go way back.
Wow, I'm offended.
What?
No, you're going to hear it right now, too.
And you've listened to the podcast before?
Yes, it's awesome.
What about it is interesting to you, Pedro?
Just the view, the topics, the literature that matter.
The art form.
The art.
What's that quote that they cut from The Office? It's called hentai and it's art?
Yeah.
Who says it?
No.
I'm surprised you don't know that. You're the biggest Office fan I know. Anyway, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Anai, and I have a Twitter, and it's Sky Bandit with 2 S's and 2 T's.
Okay, so like I said, the tag for the next 4 episodes is going to be Monster Girl for the month of October. And so I picked 4 Monster Girls. We're going to talk about 2 of them in this session. So we're recording 2 episodes at once, basically. And we're starting off with what I think is the most iconic Monster Girl, the Lamia or the Lamia, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I don't know how it's actually pronounced.
I've only ever heard it pronounced Lamia.
Well, I
would have to see the actual Greek word to know how it's pronounced. But yeah, if you know how it's pronounced, you can go ahead and
I thought
put
it was
it
like Lamia. That might be plural.
Lamia.
Anyway, before we get into the deep dive, I pay my debts. So, Pedro, my dear friend, whom we go way back with, do you remember the time when you lent me your PSP?
Oh, yeah.
So, what happened was, way back in the day when the PSP first came out, I think it was before like a certain firmware patch 1.7 or something, you could actually crack the PSP and just load fuck tons of emulators on it. And then you'd have like 200,000 library of old school games that you could walk around with. And
I really hope this is going towards you downloaded a bunch of porn.
well, hang on. So what happened was Pedro got a second PSP, and he was really into that scene, and so he got one. I think it was like secondhand. You got it from somebody at school, and you're welcome to add to the story as well. By the way, you were there. So he got one. He cracked it, and he's like, "Oh yeah!" And I literally spent the weekend at his house, and we loaded it up with games and stuff, and it was awesome. And I had it for about 2 weeks because my stepfather was just super fucking vindictive. Like, he just was. I don't know if it was a jealousy thing. I don't know if he was trying to defend his fragile masculinity as the man of the house. But he was just anything he could do to like shit on me or drive a wedge between me and my mother, he would do. So one day he, for some arbitrary fucking made up infraction, decides to confiscate the PSP, holds on to it for 2 months. I couldn't get it back, and he never actually gave it back to me. After he finally convinced my mother to kick me out of the house, Pedro had to come to the door himself to pick up his own property. Now, the other addendum that must be known about the story, otherwise nothing that follows will seem fantastic, is that we were like super dirt poor at the time, like my family. We didn't have 2 fucking nickels to rub together, so, we didn't have a computer, we didn't really have internet access, phones were not smartphones yet. This was right on the cusp when these things were becoming ubiquitous. So, what happens when a 15-year-old who doesn't have a lot of internet access gets an electronic device? I loaded that fucker up with so much porn! And I was like, okay, whatever, I'll fucking delete it before I give it back to Pedro, no big deal. That didn't happen. So Pedro gets his PSP back. He looks at what's on it, and it's literally fucking Mario, Zelda, Metroid, Castlevania, Mega Man.
What was his dad into with that?
Oh my god.
Navi, no.
Pedro is the only guy to date that has found my porn stash, mostly because I don't keep one anymore because it's free. Stream it, less viruses that way.
Well, you have to be prepared for when the internet goes down.
Oh fuck. Well, I've got a girlfriend, so hopefully I'll be able to get it semi-regularly.
Imagination.
Right.
Well, then I still need to know what type of porn he's into, Pedro, because he won't tell me.
I have been super open about my tags. I think somebody needs to go back and listen to the previous episodes.
Yeah, kind of.
What's important is what hentai was on there.
What hentai? Mostly bondage stuff. Again, I've been very open about my tags.
All right, so yeah, let's talk about Monster Girls. I guess we should talk about Monster Girls in general. What do you all think is the appeal of having sex or being attracted to a creature that is part human, part monster?
As I was reading through this stuff, I was actually reminded of one of the RPG Imaginariums that we did. It was the I'm a Rock Star, he literally put points into sex. And the guy, I remember he took Xenophile, right, for his character. And it's such a strange thing that this is like a playable archetype that you can take in a game, right? I think there's just something erotic about a woman that is different from the norm. You know what I mean? I mean, look at my relationship. I don't go after normal chicks. I have a very lovely creature of the night by my side. But that's kind of how I see it. It's like you have these women. They're hot women. They have the female form, but they're different. They're exotic. They're rare.
Because I think something interesting about this is that in a weird way, Monster Girls have been around since as long as people have been telling stories. A lot of Monster Girls come from mythology.
Wait. Is this where like the oldest profession is prostitution?
The oldest
story
tag
ever
is
told
Monster Girl.
Would you call ghosts Monster Girls?
I think a lot of people consider, like, when Monster Girl is used as a tag, usually people think of, like, mythological creatures.
Well, I'm going to look it up in the encyclopedia.
Like
Oh, yeah. Xavier, unable to make it here, did lend us the Monster Girl Encyclopedia, Volume 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, people usually think of mythological creatures, I think, when you say a Monster Girl, but a lot of people also throw, like, vampire, zombie, ghost, and even cat girls in that category. Which is interesting, right? Because cat girls, in a way, predate the whole monster girl craze, which happened a few years ago.
Ghost is in the encyclopedia. So
Would you like to read its entry to our...
The official sacred text. No.
I mean, it's a family ghost type undead. So, and their diet is the essence of human men.
Oh yeah, that's almost every creature.
Like a
Encyclopedia.
succubus.
Oh, what about the rest of you? What do you all think is interesting about Monster Girls? And if you want to answer the question, why do you think Monster Girls have had such a surge in popularity over the past few years? Not even in just hentai, like there's tons of anime and manga series that are focused around Monster Girls. The most popular being Monster Musume.
I would have no idea. I appreciate Lamia's and I don't even understand why.
I also like think like the exposure to it like got it to like a more like broader audience that people were like, oh wow, like there's some like reaction videos of people watching Monster Musume. They're like, this is hot. This is like there's some guy who's never watched anime before. He's like, I'm gonna get into this. Like there's some guy just watching it for the first time.
This has boobies!
Well, yeah,
Is this what I've been missing?
like it's just a different take on porn that they are not used to.
What about you, Pedro? What do you think is the appeal that people see in Monster Girls?
I just think of like some repressed zoophilia. I'm just wanting to see maybe animals and.
So
It's like a safe passageway into like zoophilia is kind of what you're saying. Well, it's more comfortable for somebody maybe to be into a monster girl than it is to look at an actual animal and say that they have some sort of sexual attraction to it.
I have two questions then. So one, how does this passageway sort of interact with the furry fetish? And number two, if that is the case, then how do you explain monster girls that don't cleanly have animalistic features, like I guess like the Oni? Monster girls that don't clearly have, like, that bitch has petals. The chick in the
Yeah, like she's a. That's a.
Well, I guess like
flower.
the first one that came to mind was like a mermaid. Like that was like the first. Because sailors were like I guess without women for a long time. They saw like sea creatures as mermaids.
I mean, let's face it. If you're on a boat
Yeah.
with a bunch of dudes for long enough,
And you see a manatee, you want to fuck that manatee, but you don't want to fuck a manatee.
manatee, dolphin, dull rocks, sandbar.
You gotta write stories about it.
So what's interesting to me also about that zoophilia idea is the idea that a lot of these monster girls are based in mythology, and a lot of these mythological creatures are part woman, part animal. So it's almost like this whole idea of eroticizing women who aren't completely human has kind of been around in like the human mythological conscience for a long time. You know what? What do you think about that, Anai?
Does it all boil down to how a lot of men just can't keep it in their pants? They want to have sex with everything.
They're so
I'm
repressed.
not saying every man. I'm not saying you guys.
Hashtag not all men.
Just saying a lot of men. Just kidding. I don't know. I feel like it's just.
I think there's definitely a deeper conversation that could be had if we had somebody who like really knew mythology, or like somebody who had like a scholarly understanding of the way demi-humans have worked mythological wise. But you all brought up the idea that monster girls aren't just part animal, part human. Some of them are part plant. Some of them are completely not animal at all, like an Oni or a vampire, or mummies for that matter. But for me, I imagine the appeal also is like it's kind of dangerous, and some people like that connection between like danger and sexuality, including fetishes that might be physically dangerous, like let's say like some sort of extreme bondage or something like that.
Or
There's
like blood stuff.
blood play.
Yeah.
So how come? And I mean, there very well may be. I mean, we've established that I don't read as much hentai as I used to back in the day.
You haven't started reading more hentai like Anai has?
No.
I've been researching it.
It's because he's boring. It's okay.
That and I have shit to do, one or the other. Why is it that you think monster girl tags? I'm trying to word this properly. I don't see it blending a lot of the genre lines with like horror porn and stuff usually. Like the ones that we read today. Well, one of them was scary for a very different reason, but again, that's next episode. Tune in.
No. I picked, like I said, I usually pick what I find is most popular. And some of the less popular ones, because I also read a lot of just like what people, I don't just read the top couple of ones I find when it comes to popularity. I read the other ones to try to get like a context for how the tag works.
Just because you enjoy it.
There are, like I was saying, you were in the bathroom when we were talking about this before we started the recording, but I was looking at some of the Slime Girl hentai, and one of them literally ends in snuff. The guy dies at the end because he's having sex with this slime girl and she starts multiplying, and it's basically they're having sex with him to the point where he can't produce anymore, and it's heavily implied that they're going to eat him afterwards. And there's other ones like, even in the Snake Girl we're going to read on, Yokai Hospitality. And
she wants to eat him.
Yeah, the mother and daughter Oni one we're going to read for the next episode. Both of those include the idea that these women literally want to eat the men. And that is involved in a lot of, even in the original myths for creatures like Onis and Lamias, and even things like nightmares and succubi, a lot of these creatures have the idea that they physically consume the flesh of people. And I actually kind of see a connection to like eating the flesh of somebody to consuming them in a sexual manner. That's kind of been how it's changed from mythology to monster girl hentai in the modern day.
Could it also be argued that this is a way of making women evil without explicitly making women evil?
I don't know if it's necessarily making women evil, because like I think a lot of these mythological creatures originally, even the ones that aren't actual myths, some of these come from literally from like Dungeons and Dragons. Like I think there's like a Beholder and a Mind Flayer one that I've seen. I know you're laughing because the idea is ridiculous, but it's there. People have started looting Bowser and Goombas for Christ's sake.
Well, we have an entire Rule 34 room for Bowsette on our Discord. Join now. You know why you're here.
Yeah, but I don't think it's evil. I think it's kind of like rooted in the myth. I also think I was reading a book called Aesthetics in Anime that I bought at Gen Con, and it talks about like the connection between Japanese aesthetics and art and the connection to nature. And at one point it also talks about yokai because Mushishi and some Miyazaki works get brought up. But it talks about how like there's like the connection that human beings have to nature, and a lot of time it's precarious and dangerous. And in a way, these monster girls aren't part of the human world. Even in some of these, it's explicitly stated that they're from like another world, even though they inhabit our real human space. And that it's kind of something dangerous that you're in a Japanese conscience. You're always supposed to be wary of like the yokai, because like yokai can be helpful, but some of them might drag you to another world. They might kill you. You might be in a pleasant place, but then come back 200 years in the future, kind of thing. So I imagine that actually might have like a connection to like Japanese myth, the way some of these monster girls are portrayed as what you said is evil, or what some other people might say is just dangerous, predatory, or like cautionary.
You know, that's actually a really interesting thought. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's a great point. I'm like this thinking about it from that way now. Just like opening my mind. I'm like, damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, I've been trying as hard as I can to find books that academically talk about anime, and I'm really trying hard to find academic books about hentai. But you type in hentai anywhere on the internet, you know what you're gonna find.
Josh,
Dude.
this is what you're meant to do.
Yeah, you need to fucking write that book. I still have the cards for submitting a pitch, man. Comment, listeners, comment down below how many people would read a fucking book if Josh wrote the fucking
This-
academics of hentai.
This can be for your master's. This can be a master's project.
I went to school for years. Made my money writing a porno.
You can get a class and teach it, Josh.
So
I feel like I need to learn Japanese and take some Japanese literature classes first. Oh, go ahead. What are you going to say?
that's actually a really interesting point, and I think it's actually even broader than that. I think we're hitting on a lot of points that might sieg together better than we think. You mentioned how guys will fuck anything. You mentioned how I don't think it's about necessarily making women evil.
No, but just kind of like mysterious, or kind of like when you think witches and how they were prosecuted, you think women, they did that to women. That's kind of what I meant.
Well, I'm not saying you're wrong
Yeah.
either. What I'm thinking is because, like, what you said that monster girls like or so far back in human history, and I was wondering, what does that say about human nature? Maybe there's a symbolism there where the danger, women represent, I guess, temptation in a way. So in a way, these monster girls have arisen in so many cultures across so many different parts of the world, sort of as like cautionary tales of fear of the unknown. And
So what you're saying is the women should take over.
I feel like we
pretty
got
much-
different things out of that sentence, but I'm trying to uncover like why in human nature, from whence does this spring? And I think when you look at it from that perspective, it's actually pretty goddamn basic. It's like danger is tempting, right? So to exemplify that in a story, you give it the face of a beautiful woman. Mm-hmm. I think, like,
You're almost getting into, like, the biblical myth of, like, Adam and Eve and Lilith and stuff like that.
I think that's part of it, but I don't think that's all of it. I think that is another example of it. Now, you could gender swap the roles, right? But I don't think it works the same way, because I don't think women are primally driven by that need to procreate in the same way that we are. I'm not saying you're not.
No, but
right?
I agree. I don't think it's as, like, I don't know,
You,
urgent.
you got
maybe.
the shit end of the relationship when it comes to the producing of children.
Yeah, we don't want to. Well, some of us don't want to have to go through that pain of childbirth and 9 months of
Carrying a parasite inside of you.
And then raising said parasite for 18 years.
of like basically carrying an alien inside of your body that's taking over your. Okay, never mind. Let's get off track.
No, it's interesting. We're going to keep talking about this. Like I said, we're going to be talking about Monster Girls for 4 episodes, basically.
How do you feel about this? You're very quiet in that corner. This is a podcast. You interact with us. Interact with your new fans, Pedro.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about the danger, like a Black Widow, how they make her so sexy. She's like a femme fatale, and then like in the Lamia one, like it was like she overpowered the guy so quickly, so suddenly, got her way, and then was done with them.
So
Like,
part of it is like
discarded.
losing control.
I think that's definitely an element in the stories we looked at for this episode and the next one. But yeah, since we're going to keep talking about it, let's get into the specific monster girl we're going to look at. What do you all think is the appeal of the Lamia or the Lamia?
Well, I don't know if I'm moving the conversation forwards or backwards. Forgive me.
No, go ahead.
I did notice there's a lot of running trend of like femdom in this one. Maybe that's another reason why the monster girl itself, just as a whole, is so attractive, because this monster has supernatural power. She's clearly more powerful than me.
It's animalistic instinct.
It's also
Can you
like
elaborate
they-
on that?
Like it's like the
People
like,
go crazy with sex. Animalistic instincts. It's probably something that's hot.
kind of like
Especially
like
female.
through heat, I guess, kind of.
Yeah.
It's also the idea of like the eroticism of the woman who's the one that has the strong sexual drive, and not the man in the scenario. Not that the man doesn't have a sexual drive, but in this case, it's
the
an inverse.
woman.
Yeah, it's like an inverse of what people expect, in that it's the woman in the story that has like the overpowering sexual drive.
And men tend to like that a little bit more too, I think.
So then, was I off base
No.
when I said that
No.
it represents the temptress? Because now that you mention it, I mean, you're right. It's usually the women that instigate in these stories. There's not really that edge of temptation.
No, I think it's there. I think you're also thinking of where it comes from mythologically, which in a way, it does. The influence of this tag in a way goes back to the human history when we started making myths up. I don't think it's far-fetched for you to pull something.
Somebody just chiseling in a stone wall. Put tits on it. And as much as we evolve, we have not changed.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with you pulling from where these stories come from than where they are now, because there's an obvious evolution in the way we talk about them, which is weird in a way, right? Like Lamias and Onis were used in like cautionary tales. Like Lamia's mythologically, I think Lamia was originally a queen that had sex with Zeus, and so Hera killed her kids and cursed her with that form. And so now she eats and devours other women's children, and she has like a powerful sexual appetite. And over like mythology, there's more Lamias, and it goes from being one specific woman to being like a subset of these monsters that are that like to seduce men and literally eat them afterwards, kind of thing.
At what point should we, like, I guess, look it up in the encyclopedia that I sacrificed a significant amount of sleep to get for us today?
Oh, yeah,
I'm on 2 hours of fucking sleep, y'all, and I was about to go to sleep after running around and accomplishing shit, and Xavier's like, I can't make it. Somebody come get my porno. God damn it. You know, sometimes your destiny calls to you.
Why does Xavier sound like an old lady?
Xavier doesn't sound like an old lady. My facetious voice does.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, like I said, in addition to the 2 texts we have the Monster Girl Encyclopedia from Kenko Cross. And I think these are interesting because, like, this is a whole world that this guy and other writers have made where it's a world full of monster girls where monsters have been turned into these sexy women when they weren't already sexy women.
Put tits on it.
And, like, they exist in this world where it's like, oh, I think it's like the Queen of Monsters or the Queen of Demons is trying to take over. And that's why she turned all monsters into women. And so they have sex with men and they turn into monsters.
Okay, so I've actually discussed the lore of this world with Xavier before because, god damn it, sometimes conversations just go in that direction. And my understanding was that it was like a god or a king or something. Like it was a protection because these monsters were constantly massacring and murdering people. And instead, we're like, okay, we'll turn them all into sexy women. So instead of killing people, they'll just rape them instead. Which is a step up. Maybe not a solution per se, but gotta install the airbags.
Yeah.
No, Lamias in the Monster Girl Encyclopedia, they're women who sometimes create their own villages and live independent from humans, but will occasionally seduce men and feed off their semen, basically. They seduce them with their voices, and they are known to be tenacious and jealous. They will take hold of a man and hold them close and never let them go. If they find the husband has been unfaithful, they will squeeze him head to toe and make love to him until all thoughts of any other have been erased from their mind. And they molt, and when they molt, their whole body, the snake part of their body becomes an erogenous zone, which is why they like to wrap men up.
Monster Musume, cough, cough.
Well, Monster Musume, it was only the end of her tail that was an erogenous.
No. There was a scene where he peeled her and she was like really getting turned on by it.
Okay, whatever. I've seen like fucking 2 episodes of that.
I saw the whole thing.
I have the manga.
I win!
So shall we get to the story?
Yeah, well, do y'all have anything else you want to say about what you think is appealing? Like, what is sexy about a woman who's a snake?
Bondage.
Yeah, there's a bondage aspect that does happen.
They squeeze really tight, which that's probably why I like them.
Also, one thing I was kind of thinking about when I was reading the first Lamia,
The yokai hospitality or the other one?
I guess, probably some interesting positions possible because you don't have to worry about like bending legs. Yeah, exactly. You just kind of rotate in the right angle.
And she can hold herself there.
Yeah.
But you were pointing at Pedro. Did you want to say something about what you think the appeal of a Lami is?
That's the question.
It doesn't have to be what you find appealing. No. But, yeah, I think one of the texts actually goes really into depth about what people find sexy about a snake woman.
That's true.
There's the one with the office
There's
lady.
that thing where it's like a snake woman where she like handles a snake. I guess that's part of it being sensual. Because like they're really slithery.
Also, snakes have been eroticized through history. Like, Roman women used to use snakes as sex toys.
What?
Ugh.
That's true.
No.
They used to take the fangs off and they used them to suckle their breast.
What the? Ugh.
Do you think the eroticism of like snake imagery goes back to that? I guess the serpent in the Garden of Eden, the temptation thing. Like,
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. And also from, like, the Greek myth, because Lamias come from Greek myth. And, what else was I going to say?
now, honestly, I don't think temptation really had anything to do with Roman women using them as dildos. I think that's mostly because they're shaped like penises.
That's weird and gross.
Do you remember the woman who wrote...
That's animal abuse.
That
too.
is animal
I'm
abuse.
sorry.
We are talking about a time when people literally just murdered each other in the fucking Colosseum. They weren't concerned.
They were like, were we hurting the snake in its feelings? No. No, do you remember the woman who wrote the Borderlands? It's like a popular Chicana text when it comes to literary criticism.
Yeah, I have it. I don't know her name.
She talks about the use of eroticism in snakes in, I think it's Gloria Anduales, might be her name.
That sounds...
Yeah. But she talks about the connection between the snake and the female vagina and the eroticism of snakes in connection to like Aztec mythology, I think.
It's Gloria Ansaldúa.
Okay.
Ansaldúa.
I was close. I got the Gloria part right.
I think.
Yeah, so there's definitely a history of snakes being considered erotic creatures historically. So I gave you all 3 texts. One is the exact same as the others, but we'll get to that at the end.
But the other is significantly better.
So the first one I gave you guys, or the first one I intended you all to read, it didn't end up that way for some reason in the way I gave it to you. It's by the artist known as Mizone. And Mizone has a ton of Monster Girl hentai. I think it's a specific niche that he works in. And there's actually a lot of similarities to this one and the other ones I read, in that in a lot of them, it's a romantic relationship that develops between a man and a monster girl that results in their consummation and them getting married and having children. Which I think goes back to like Japanese mythology again, because there's stories of like the Yuki-onna, the snow women, who would marry human men. And
But then they like go into the kitchen or they take a hot bath and
they disappear.
Yeah.
I think that's another kind of yokai, but they have very specific kinds of.
I think they're in the monster. They're in the encyclopedia. I saw an ice queen and something else.
Yeah, but there is like a. I was wondering if there's like a connection between that and like actual Japanese yokai myths where human men marry yokai women. But yeah, it's Mizone, and the work that he wrote is translated as A Monster's Hospitality or Yokai Hospitality.
No, I guess, Josh, one other thing that I thought of, like, 'cause you know, like, snakes are, like, cold-blooded. But then a human's body went to, like, I guess, they appeal to, like, something holding on to you, cuddling with you.
Yeah, the snakes.
Also, be appealing to some people.
Snakes follow the heat, so it makes sense why they'd want to wrap around a human.
Yeah.
There you go. So, who wants to give me the summary of Monster Girl or Yokai Hospitality?
Everybody's got to do one.
Oh, that's true. We volunteer you.
Can you give us a summary of this story, Pedro?
Was the Lamia, and things start to get pretty heavy early on, and the pressure's on when she starts constricting the man, and like I guess it's like maybe some sort of tentacle porn. You know?
But what happens narratively? What is the actual
Like the summary
story?
of it.
Like, he shows up at a place and asks to stay there.
Yeah, I guess he is enticed by the Lamia and is overwhelmed by her power, and he's forced into climax. And she's very satisfied by it.
Yeah, the gist of the story is you have a man in, it seems like medieval Japan, wandering the countryside. He gets lost, and he ends up finding a house where he asks for the hospitality of being let in away from his journey. And it turns out the house is owned by a Lamia who decides that this is finally going to be the day that she eats a human man. And things don't exactly go the way she intends. So who here had a moment in the story that you
Hold
want?
up. And then they get married and have a baby.
Yeah, after she decides she's going to eat him in a very different way.
Yeah, but this is a smart way, because then now when she's hungry, he's there. She doesn't have to go looking.
Yeah, do any of you have a specific moment in the story that you want to talk about? Is there something here that stood out to you?
I just have a question, real quick, brought on by what you got your conversation just now. There is a running theme in the Monster Girl Encyclopedia, which is my main vector into this world of wonder, about how these monster girls constantly like to live off of and consume human semen. Do you think that is poignant in some way, or is it just like some fucking excuse for
For why they want to have sex with
yeah?
men? I think there's definitely an argument to be made with like the connection between like male life and vitality, and the way that's embodied by semen as something that the male provides to give life to another human being.
Yeah, you were saying that you see the connection between consuming somebody like physically and sexually.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that a little bit?
I guess what I was trying to get at is like in a lot of these myths where some of these creatures come from, it ends with the man being physically eaten or a child being physically eaten by a monster. And I feel like in a way, having sex with somebody is like an alternative form of consuming somebody, in that like you're taking them into you. Like the woman is taking the man into them rather than through the mouth. It's like through the vagina instead. And like the man's physical life force that's used to sustain something by physically eating them is instead the life force given to them through the semen or like affection and romance in some of these scenarios.
I guess it is a type of energy, probably.
Can it also be said that it's also a way for men to make themselves more important? Like, hey, my semen gives life to everything.
It's also just an excuse.
Yeah.
I know why do you hate us? Evil man with his demon boner and Satan jizz.
It's not all of you.
It's not
Yours is the matter of Beelzebub.
It's not all of you, to most of you.
No. What about the rest of you? What about the story did you like, did you dislike, that stood out to you, that you thought was interesting?
This guy totally would have died if he didn't have to piss at the right time.
That's right.
Like, this would have been a very different story if he didn't have that third sake.
No, but then when he finds her in there, he immediately goes to like lewd thoughts. He goes, I think he says something like, "Why are you in my room? Or do you want to have sex?" So I would assume if he weren't peeing, if he was just there and he'd see her walk in, he'd be like, "I'm ready, let's do it. This is obviously why you're here."
She wouldn't have killed him, though. You know that. She's too nice.
She lacks the resolve. Well, yeah, it's pointed out in the story that she tries to eat a samurai, but then she's like, ugh, might be dangerous. And then she finds a kid and she's like, oh, this is sad, let me take you back home.
I read part of this at work, and it was really weird.
I read it on the living room sofa. We are just reaching a point where we don't give a fuck anymore.
We're normalizing sexual content in our lives. Whether you think that's a good or bad thing is up to you.
Yeah.
I guess it's a pretty good. I like to think of myself as being more, maybe liberated isn't the right word, but like sex positive. I think it's funny.
I never gave a crap. I pull up Hentai Haven and Pornhub in front of you guys all the time to find content like this so we can talk about it.
I think a lot of people were just raised with so much shame. I
was absolutely raised with shame, and now I just don't care.
Well, I guess speaking about being raised with shame and all of that, it kind of ties into what I thought this story was like mainly about, excluding the sex. So in the beginning, she starts out with like very surprised just at the fact that he thinks she's pretty and that he's not afraid of her, and she just keeps being surprised at that. And then we find out that genuinely what she wants is kind of like to have a family and to be loved and all of that kind of stuff. But that in her world is not the norm. Like in her world, she should be eating him, but that's not what she wants. So what I thought it was mainly about is kind of like how difficult it is to be different. So she, like I said, in her world, the norm would be to be aggressive and to kill men and eat them and whatever. But she didn't want to, and she was afraid to do it because she does at one point, like when she has the girls' night with all the monster girls, they kind of like make fun of her for not having killed a man before, So it's basically like being bullied for being different.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What were you?
At the same token, though, I think it's very interesting on the last page when they're eating their fucking takoyaki kebabs and they're like fucking jealous of her. Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's all related. Like she has a hard time being different because she gets bullied for it, but then she finds the chance of somebody that actually loves her and she takes it and has a family, and then other people are kind of like, well, I mean, I guess it's not that bad. Like that, it looks like a nice thing to have.
When she's holding her baby at the end.
Yeah.
The half snake baby.
And it's cute.
Also, that is Dango, not Takoyaki.
My fucking bad. I will send a letter to the Prime Minister of Japan.
I will correct you,
prostrating
damn
myself.
it.
Adam, what about you? What did you find interesting here?
It's not the English stuff. Let's get it.
Oh.
That was so fucking good. So, honestly, a lot of the people that probably are mainstream listeners of this are probably more familiar with the anime man, because I figure if you know who the fuck we are, you've heard of somebody with 1 million subscribers.
Yeah.
But he actually did do a video of this exact manga, and there is, I don't know if you'd call it like a parody translation?
Yeah, well, it's called a rewrite in hentai circles. And what it is...
And among the hentai elite. We call it a rewrite in the society.
Yeah, they call it a rewrite, and what it is sometimes people will take like a previous translation, and they'll like, oh, here's an update of it. I have a better translation than the other person. But what this group called Thought Patrol, I think, is what they call themselves. What they do is they'll take hentai, and they'll retranslate it into Elizabethan English. And I gave everybody that version of the story as well, just as like a fun bonus way to look at it.
It was the best porn I've ever read. Speaking of which, we have to do that fucking Kasumi's Knickers one. That's
Kasumi's
Kasumi's Knickers. No, Pedro, what did you think was interesting about this hentai manga?
You know, I was reading the Old English version, and that's why I didn't understand it too well.
You know, that makes a lot of sense. I have no fucking idea what's going on. They had sex and there's some kind of tentacle. I actually did pretty okay, because I read the Old English version first, because I didn't know there was a regular version of this. I thought they were just fucking around. I'm proud of myself.
I'm only able to get what the way. Well, it's not that difficult. Like you can figure it out because there's like a.
There's some words that are weird, bro.
It's easier if
you say it out loud.
Well, no, it's easier if you try to read it with an English accent.
Yeah, if you read it with the accent and you read it out loud, because then you can see how the word is spelled differently, but it's a word you're familiar with. I'm kind of able to read it pretty easily because back in college, a lot of times you had to read Shakespeare the way it was written rather than the way people use it now.
You guys think your friend from college, or not a friend, but is your acquaintance from college?
Oh, Jesse.
Jesse? Yeah. When all the
Anglophile, the English weeb.
Yes. Would he enjoy this story? I don't know. We'll see.
On page 10, can you move to that page?
Yeah.
They show her tongue, and it's very, like...
Oh, yeah, it's like
she has a snake tongue.
It's very
Crazy.
snake-like.
Yeah, it's...
Look at it.
I feel like it's a missed opportunity for not giving her the split tip.
Yeah, right?
Well, here's like part of the sexual appeal of a monster girl, right? Like you get an anatomy that can be used sexually that you wouldn't get with a standard human woman. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you have that facet. She has like the snake tongue, and she's giving him a blowjob without even putting his penis in her mouth. And then she also coils around him at one point, and it's like that smothering effect that he kind of gets that he likes.
Which that is a fetish in and of itself.
So that's like one of the ways you can look at it, right? Because like people like it because like the body in a way facilitates several fetishes that you might be into.
Bondage, smothering.
So let's kind of get on that point that Anahi brought up about the way the actual narrative and the story works with the way. What do you all think about that aspect of her expected to be one thing but wants to be another that kind of develops in the story?
She doesn't know that she wants that for like the longest time. He almost has to convince her with his penis, I guess. And then there's kind of now. Admittedly, I did read the Old English version, which should cause a little bit of a narrative disconnect for me. But it seems like a light switch. She's like, "I will marry you if you get me preggo," and I don't know. it's kind of hard to complain because it is a truncated media and they only have fucking 16 pages to tell the story. But I don't know, it's hard to analyze that kind of character motivation when it's like 75% of the story she doesn't have it. 25% of the story she has it instantly for no reason and everything's super great.
Well, I guess looking at it the way that she does have an inner character conflict, and the fact that she wants to try to eat people, yet she finds a difficulty in going through with the violence of the act. And in a way, you could say that she resolves that issue with, I'm not a violent person, I don't want to eat people, with, I can have relationships with human beings. And if she was a human being, it'd be like, I can have a relationship with other people that doesn't have to be one where I'm fitting in an expected mold. And that kind of resolves the idea of now being able to be part of another world with people through that romantic relationship.
Also, as far as, it's still a really good idea. It is. But, again, I read the old fucking English version. Were her friends... Huh?
You didn't read both of them?
Fuck no! I read it once. I had shit to do, okay? I don't feel like her friends, in the first girls' night out, they're not really, super judgmental of her. They're not, virgin shaming her too much. It's this is totally...
they're giving her crap for never eating human before.
Yeah, they're not you
still haven't tried human yet? They're super tasty, especially the young ones are good. Yeah, last year during a girls' night, my friends invited me to a human hunt for the first time. However, I didn't have a bit of success.
See, that's what I mean. But look, I guess you could read it that way if you want. But to me, the way I read that is, yeah, this is really cool. You should try this. It's not, they're not tearing her down for never having done it. They're like, oh, you're such a loser. You'll never fucking make it as a monster. How dare you turn in your Lamia tail?
I mean, no, they're not bullying her, but it's still something that's kind of like.
I guess
the
they
norm.
are. They are setting up a status quo. I get it. I don't know. Just to me, that seems like you don't know what you're missing here.
You haven't tried alcohol before? Like that's what it seems like. You haven't tried alcohol before? Just give you a shot or something like that, but I don't know.
Well, I made the connection earlier between the idea of eating somebody, actually eating somebody by killing them and having sex with them. What do you all think about the connection that's made here? In that you could say there's a connection between not eating a human and being a virgin that some of you are picking up on.
Clearly, non-cannibals are losers, duh. Anai, smart for us.
What was the question?
What do you think? Why do you think you feel that connection between the idea of not eating a human to not having sex with
and
one?
to being okay. Well, it's kind of like.
It's kind of similar in where girls have experienced this before. I used to get crap for not having a boyfriend at one point because I didn't start dating. Well, this is just my circumstance because for some reason I guess girls started dating when they were in 7th grade, and I wasn't like that. So
Anai was surprised when I told her that I knew classmates that had lost their virginity by 7th grade.
Yeah, and I used to, I used to get crap from that from other girls. They're like, "Oh, you've never had a boyfriend?" And I had one girl go "Oh, that's so sad. You've never had a boyfriend before." It's
yeah, so
it's kind of like that.
It's people aren't overtly mean about it, but it's also kind of oh, you've never done this before. That's everybody does this. It's just.
Yeah.
I'm fighting my human nature to make lewd comments, and at the same time realizing that there's a couple of years difference between you and me. So there's a perfect span of time where that's weird.
Lewd comments of what?
I've been right here this whole time, baby.
While you were in 7th grade.
Yeah, fucking exactly.
Jess was in 12th.
We're 5 years separate. To me, that's weird.
It is a very surreal experience seeing all these titties rush by.
As I'm scrolling through it.
Flashbacks.
So I told you all that this artist Mizone, that he usually ends his Monster Girl stories with the human protagonist and the monster protagonist getting married and having a child.
There's a ring.
What do you think is interesting about that? What do you think about that whole connection of two people from different worlds, and that it usually resolves in a marriage and a child?
You come from all walks of life. You can all get laid.
Anyone can be happy.
I mean, I don't want to take the analysis too far, but it's kind of like just taking the concept of the story of what, or at least what I think the concept of the story is, kind of represents that literally anybody can get married and it's not going to hurt anyone.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you think it's kind of like interracially, like a movement kind of thing?
Yeah, that even just gay marriage or
gay marriage.
Any in between of the LGBT plus whatever community, like it's just anybody, as long as you're not hurting anyone, who cares?
As long as you're not going to kill them and eat them.
I think there's legitimately a subset of people that are into this fetish that I don't want to make this sound super fucking despicable, but it's like I get to keep one for my very own. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
To be fair, there probably is an aspect of what's the word? Possession.
Kind of like when. And I'm not saying this is the case for everybody, but it's
not
like,
everyone.
Kind of like when somebody is.
It's okay. Tell me,
obsessed.
Amigo.
No, like when somebody's obsessed with a certain culture. Like we brought up a certain person that
not you, Adam.
I'm surprised you didn't look at me for that.
We'll use Adam as an example. Adam, I'm not saying this is you. Like when somebody really is into a culture, so we'll say Adam, and let's say he's even more obsessed with just Japanese culture, and he marries the first Japanese woman she finds, and it's kind of like, yes, I finally get a genuine piece of this. That's real and living.
Japanese girls only.
It's mine.
A Japanese piece of ass.
Gaijin, no need apply.
Did anybody else have any parting comments about that story before we move on?
I thought it was cute.
Like the one thing I was also going to say, like maybe he just wants like a happy ending, like the Disney of hentai.
No,
it was a happy ending.
There's a part where I was like, this reminds me of a Disney story because it's like they're having sex and I wrote it down. He goes, "Be my woman forever." They've known each other for like hours, and I thought this is just a Disney story
for like 5 minutes.
Well, he says at one point that he can judge people's hearts.
That's bullshit.
She has a pure heart.
That's bullshit.
What is that Cinderella bullshit?
It's a samurai code, though.
It's his Nindo.
It's his Nindo. You can see through the heart.
All right, Adam, because you hardly ever hear, you got to summarize the next story, which is by an artist named Horitomo. And it is... How do we say this?
Oh, Pedro, give it a shot.
Lamia,
you're better than I am.
Oh, much.
I can't see it.
Omochi Kairi Lamia?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Lamia, the Carryout office lady. So, Adam, would you like to give us a summary of this story?
I suppose so. You're pressured into it, but it's Adam. Yep. It's a story of a guy who finds his superior just passed out on the floor.
His superior at the office.
His superior at the office, yeah, not like superior. Passed out on the office on the floor. Not on the office, but on the floor.
She's drunk in an alleyway.
Drunk in an alleyway, yeah, pretty much. He's like, okay, she can't be. It's not good for her health. Just take her home with no ill intent, of course. It sounds weird, but
Yeah, you wouldn't think to yourself, there's no ill intent here unless there was some ill intent.
He's trying to convince himself otherwise.
Yeah. And he carries her home, drags her tail along.
Oh yeah, she's long as compared to the other girl. She is like coiled. She looks like she's like 60
She's
feet
like an
long.
anaconda.
Yeah. The anaconda don't quit though.
Unless you got bugs.
Oh, keep going, Adam.
That's not what, he takes her to his apartment or house. She knocks over some figurines that he likes.
It turns out he likes monster girls.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
She wakes up halfway through. Well, I guess she wakes up in the room. Grabs a beer from the fridge and just like just wants to get laid. Or she was first she said she got dumped by her boyfriend or someone she liked. I don't remember. Then
I think it was a guy at the office that she was dating, the manager or something, and he dumped her.
Yeah, does nobody like monster girls or?
Yeah, his somebody asks him about their relationship, and he says, "How could anybody like or love a Lamia?"
Yeah. And then he's like I think he's just I just flat out tell her he thinks she's pretty and all that. Telling emotions to get
The kokoro.
Kokoro, yeah.
The doki doki feelings in your heart.
Doki doki feelings in her heart, and then they I guess start having sex. Yeah, they get hard for each other, and they wake up the next day. They're like, I'm sorry I made a mess in your house, and they start going out after that. Happy ever?
Yeah.
More or less happy ending
Ever
story.
after.
Yeah. This is the ending. Roll credits.
Roll credits.
All right. Do any of you have anything interesting you thought about, like what do you all think about the conflict in that story? There's an actual. This one also has a romantic issue in that the Lamia in this story also feels like an outcast because she feels like nobody can love her in this world for who she is.
Because someone talked shit on her, essentially. Like, he dumped her because I guess maybe someone found out about their relationship and then called him weird about it.
I don't think they actually ever dated. I think she had a crush on him and she's about to ask him out, and then she overhears that. How could anybody like a Lamia?
I got that too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought they were dating.
I think she's about to give him movie tickets, and she's about to ask him out on a movie date when she hears that.
I think it's just a very human emotion / experience in general. Just never feeling good enough, constantly questioning yourself, and then not feeling wanted.
Yeah. And also it's kind of as if, say, when I knew Josh and I heard him say, "Oh, I don't like Mexican girls."
I didn't see that.
No, I'm just saying, like, if that would have happened, then, and I liked you, I would have been really bummed out. And
if you heard me say I don't like Mexican.
if I heard you say something like that, so that's something that would definitely happen in real life. Not saying you did it. I'm just saying.
Were you all expecting snake women to be so relatable?
No.
The wanting to be loved and to be yourself.
I mean, like, I've gotten stuff like that before where, like, guys don't like the way I look. Like, where they're just like, oh, she looks weird, or oh, she looks like a freak because I wear dark makeup and stuff.
Can you imagine
Meanwhile,
if
they
somebody
drew
was
over
like,
a model who wears the exact same kind of makeup I do, but, whatever. I'm sorry, Anya, what were you saying?
No, can you imagine if you overheard somebody go, "Oh, I don't like goths." Ew.
Yeah, I know.
That-
I mean, I've heard
hurtful.
guys say that before. Like, it's just, I guess, how they feel about it. But it does make you feel like crap when you like someone and then they say that.
Yeah. So yeah.
Do you hear worse? Like, I don't like nerds. Like, okay. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's not just a thing. Like, imagine if that happened to you guys.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Hashtag me too. Just kidding.
Has that actively happened? It's come close.
It's happened to me.
Did they say they didn't like curly hair?
No.
Ow! Sorry.
It was the implication of my interest and the things I liked, and they were like, how could somebody like me see myself in a relationship with somebody like her?
Who'd I gotta punch?
It was high school, so it doesn't matter.
Sorry, I said ow because Fitz bit my shin.
I
with
am
my
so
stocking.
sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry, my cat's a butt.
I didn't expect that he just kind of came up with me.
I was thinking the dog, do you have like bone legs?
Did you find anything interesting about this story, Pedro?
Yeah, like the Office theme, very relatable.
What do you think is interesting? The last story kind of took place in medieval Japan. Why do you think people place monster girl settings in the modern day so often?
I guess so people with modern day relationships can, I guess, fantasize about it.
Make it more relatable.
I think it's also because it could be rare. Because they're supposed to be like old mythical creatures.
And this normalizes it.
Yeah.
Like it's an everyday
So,
That's
like...
keep going.
I'm sorry, no, because they're so rare now, maybe, like... Well, in their world, they're probably, like, a lot more rare. So, it would be an interesting relationship to see. And also, they're so... Probably, like, something like Charlie mentioned before, they're more exotic. Because they're not around as much, probably.
And this one says in this world, there's like centaur girls and mermaids, and there was one with wings.
Harpy.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, so I guess that's
The North.
I felt like that was a direct reference to Monster Movie. Like, that maps one for one.
that right there.
Would it be okay if I was a centaur or a happy mermaid?
A harpy mermaid. Or a harpy.
Oh, or a harpy mermaid. Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I read it as a happy
Yeah, it was
mermaid
supposed
too.
to, yeah, it was supposed to be separated, man.
Yeah, Chaz mentioned Monster Musume. I don't know if Monster Musume was like the first series that really kickstarted the Monster Girl craze, or if it was like the apex of like something that had been building up, and now this is the most popular variation of it. But this is like a very common way that people use Monster Girls. The way I usually see Monster Girls in a setting is it's either like medieval fantasy, or like a medieval variation of either Japan or Europe, or an entirely fantasy world, where it's like an RPG where Monster Girls are a thing.
Well, yeah, because I think it's easier to conceive weird fucking monsters than that. Interesting that there's not a lot of sci-fi.
Yeah, and then the other one is like this, where it's like Monster Girls have always been a thing, but now we're integrating these two worlds together.
True.
I wonder if that also goes back to that whole idea of like the yokai and the other world, and now in like a modern world we kind of like push that together, and that it's not like this strange thing anymore, due to the fact that like humanity has just basically encroached everywhere. I wonder if there's like some sort of connection with that to why the
like
modern day Monster Girl genre is like a thing.
Humanity has just spread so much. There's
nowhere for these things to
hidden
hide
space.
anymore. Yeah. So yeah, I mentioned earlier that this story basically points out what a person might find attractive about a Lamia specifically, where she's wrapping around in him and squeezing him, and he's saying this is a Lamia lover's dream.
The whole being wrapped.
And he gets a hard on.
Hang on. Can I say that I think this made me like Lamia chicks less?
Why?
Right there!
When she's giving him a tail job?
Yeah, and he talks about, oh, it's so rough and her hand is so soft. Oh boy, sandpaper! Fuck that!
I mean, have you felt a snake before?
They're not.
They're not
rough.
sandpaper.
No, he's talking about
Yeah.
her being rough.
Yeah.
That is an in-universe description.
But I think he meant like it's a
It's
tighter
squeezy.
grip.
Okay, that could have been a translation issue, now that I think about it.
The way I read it was just kind of like that. It's a tighter grip on
Yeah.
his penis, and then her
Because
hands just
honestly,
kinda
snakes aren't that rough. Like, I've held snakes before.
They're
so-
pretty smooth.
Yeah,
they're
I have as
smooth
well.
creatures.
But I'm going off of what the in-universe character told me. I've never had a Lamia on my penis. I have to take the word of those who have. So, I don't know. That just
How
sounded
many
fucking
people have you
miserable.
met that have done that? You have to take their word for it.
Two protagonists. So far.
What do you think about the element they added where she's like his manager at work, and he kind of looks up to her because she has like a cool, serious, professional personality?
Well, I think it's just another element of it shouldn't happen. This shouldn't happen.
Yeah,
because
she's
he's-
normally like really like
Yeah.
serious and businesslike,
And
he
she's his
likes to see
superior.
her like this for once, like all cute and
I mean, maybe.
Kia.
Do you mean that?
So it's like there's like a double crossing of worlds, and that there's like this professional relationship they're breaching,
Well,
in addition to like the inter demi-human thing going on.
I don't know if I necessarily agree. I mean, yes, it can be read that way. I think again, it speaks more likely to fucking. I feel like I always find some kind of connection to Zaibatsu culture in every fucking hentai literature club we do. But I think that is, in a way, more relatable because there's probably a lot of people that are in these office jobs in Japan that they see somebody at work that they would like to pursue, and they can't because it would be super improper, and that's
because they're their higher ups, or
it simply is not done, especially over there.
And the senpai won't notice you.
at the end, they don't say they're gonna file any reports with HR that can get her fired. I don't know if a man is worth it. Girl, get your shit together.
you need that salary, girl.
Well, they kind of point out that nobody takes it the wrong way. Everybody can tell at the little last panel that they're in a
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah, that's why you file with HR.
Well, there's different rules with Monster Girls, obviously.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess in this universe.
Does anybody else have anything interesting about the story that you want to point out, or something you found like narratively interesting, or even the artwork? or the scenario.
There's like, like the difference between the two Lamias that I noticed is that this one had like an ass.
Yeah,
Dude, right? It fucking hangs over the tail.
I'm like, damn.
This one had a booty.
I was literally about to say her butt like sticks out on this one.
Fucking me too.
That's actually, I think that's somewhat the actual anatomy of a snake. Like their butts are just kind of there.
Well, snakes don't have butts.
These have a,
They
these have
have a
a
hole to poop.
Their hole is on the front though, isn't it? Like they have a cloaca, don't they?
It's a front butt.
I think.
But they don't have like an actual butt, so when you
No,
add
they
a
don't
butt
have a
to
booty.
it, yeah, like when you add a butt to it like that, like it's separate from the snake part. That was weird to me.
See, the thing
That's
that
the
weirded
human
me
part.
out is there's one panel that's to get a really good shot of it.
There's
And
like,
it, like,
It's on page 23.
it folds over the
Yeah.
snake part. There's clearly snake part going underneath the butt,
Yeah.
and then butt folding over.
19 as well. Page 19.
yeah.
So now that you know that the tail job was the rough part, not the scales, does that re-increase your interest in snake girls?
It returns it to an even neutral, I suppose.
I would think you would actually like them because you're into bondage too, but you know.
Well,
I
yeah,
guess
but
it's just
I'm into doing the bondage. I am myself not a snake girl, so that doesn't
What if
do
you were a snake
anything.
boy, Chaz? It's
What
like,
Chaz needs, or what Chaz would want then, is a caterpillar girl who wants to be tied up.
to be a cocoon. It's a,
I would have to see the character design on that because that sounds really fucking weird. I'm picturing like a giant fucking 50s sci-fi caterpillar with a woman's face.
Kind of like Heimlich from
Oh,
Bugs Life.
Jesus Christ.
I'm like, from what?
From Bugs Life.
Oh,
I was gonna think, I was like, what's his name? But
She's
I'm
got
like,
a lot of bumps. She's curvy.
I'm sure there's a fucking caterpillar girl in one of these two books.
You know what? You know what? Give me that. I'm gonna look.
Take the sacred text, Melinda.
Xavier the lore keeper does not trust just anybody with his smut.
Hey, he gave it to the group. All right.
It's your birthday present.
We are in fact the Hentai Jedi Council. We're the Hentai Student Council.
Can we apply to make Hentai Jedi Council an actual title for us?
What the hell is a cockatrice?
Those are like the chicken-looking monsters. They're like, it's what happens when like a chicken sits on a snake egg, and they can petrify people.
Gotcha.
If you want the comparison, we can bring out a Dungeons and Dragons monster manual.
A mantis. There's we're getting closer. There's mantis.
Just as an aside, Insect Girl is a subcategory of Monster Girl, and to me, those are the ones where they get fucking weird.
There's giant slug, but I think
Wait,
that probably
how
was one with
weird?
slime.
Like one of them was like a yandere kind of thing.
Oh.
A yandere?
No, I
Jesus.
mean there's the yandere moth, which a lot of people are familiar with, and that's weird enough in itself because she only has like the partial human torso and the face, but then she has like the insect arms and legs, and like she is mostly moth. She has like a human vagina, butt, stomach, breast, and face basically.
That's all you need.
And
That's how you make it
yeah,
work.
that one's weird. 'Cause that one is like a horror story, and that like a guy keeps going back to this shed, and there's like a traumatic experience he has, and it turns out it's this moth girl that keeps calling him back. And there's another one though where it's another story like this where it's like monster people have been integrated into society, but then it's pointed out that insect people still actively prey and eat humans when they can. It's just not talked about. And this guy is basically held hostage in this insect people community. And this woman is basically keeping him as a sex slave. And it's like always like, oh man, she's having sex with me, but I don't know, one of these days she's literally gonna fucking kill and eat me kind of thing.
So I'm hearing that the next session is Bowsette insect.
The closest you get.
Look,
is-
boom, right there. That ass is literally folded over Snake's head.
That is page 23.
For those
Yeah.
watching it, for those following along,
Is she wearing some kind of like apparatus?
Yeah, she's wearing a shirt.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if that was like
Yeah.
an ass support.
Look, you can see it there.
yeah, and that's support.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's ass support.
The closest you get is
It's a bra
I
for-
also just noticed He
Do you
has
remember,
a
Josh?
he has a finger in her butt the entire time.
Not the entire time, but the final ending. Though.
Oh, I'm sorry,
It's
but
the happy ending.
Wait, there's some disconnect. So you have butt here, you have vag here, and this tree trunk of a fucking snake tail that's essentially her entire taint. She has a prehensile taint.
no.
Well, that's where the snake part comes in. She's got to be part snake.
Really, 21.
I only found explicitly the part where he says that her wrapping around him is like how this is what.
It's
her wrapping around him, squeezing him tight.
It's probably the British dub of it.
The tail job.
Yeah, the tail job.
The
He
tail
just
job.
makes little comments. He doesn't actually
Okay.
just like list it.
I don't know why I thought that. Okay.
It was in the British dub.
Probably just remembering it all at once.
Because he does say explicitly.
I got fucking Mandela affected.
You know what? I did too. I actually remember that scene.
Because
We fucking jumped universes together.
No, but I remember it too.
Yeah, me too.
Right there, I think it's this where he says the way she can wrap around me and squeeze me tight. This is a Lamia lover's dream, and then it just gets confused with all the other stuff
Okay.
he says.
I think we all mix it up together.
I guess let's start synthesizing what we've been looking at. So, what do you guys see as like a common thread in both these Lamia stories?
That they're surprised somebody would ever love them. That was like very explicit.
They're more humanized, by far more humanized than they are in the text for next episode.
Yeah, I agree. I like these way more than the Oni, if I'm honest.
Wow.
I don't think you would have liked the Mizone Oni story though.
The which one?
He's fine. He had a bad dream. He's fine.
I think Fitz was messing with him.
Yeah.
Was
Because
it,
Fitz ran that way.
Fitz is a butt. It happens.
No, yeah, Mizone also has an Oni girl story. However, I don't think y'all would have liked that one. However, that one also does end with the Oni girl getting pregnant and marrying him. So what sort of unifying elements did you all think you saw between both these Lamia-centric stories?
Unifying elements. Oh, fuck. Touching the bag. Sorry.
No,
What?
he was crinkling the bag.
Oh.
I think I was just doing it absent-mindedly, too. Like, I have the self-destructive desire to fuck myself.
That's why I touched your hand.
You're an angel. Again, these Lamias were much more humanized. I wonder if that's direct inspiration from Mia. I wonder if that's... I don't know.
Mia from Monster Musume.
Well, yeah.
For those rare few of you who don't know,
I haven't. I don't understand.
we'll watch it right
It's on
now.
Crunchyroll.
You're not listening much.
But Darling Coon, that's it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Good time in this chat.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to actually go into the final thing, but we were discussing like the weird insect girls and moth girls, and like comparatively towards all that, the Lamia were just so humanized. I'm not entirely certain why.
There's like an element of acceptance in it. You're wondering if that's influenced intertextually by Monster Musume and Mia's character. No, what about the rest of you guys? See anything that you thought was connected between these two stories?
I feel like they're a conflict kind of internally. Like, where it's
Like
like they can't be loved because of what they are.
Do you all think that there's like anything that would make this appeal more to both genders rather than just men that we typically assume
I like
are
it.
reading hentai?
Yeah, I actually imagine that at least the very first one probably appeals to a lot of women. You know what? Second one too. I think there's a broad range of appeal here.
I feel like these had a lot of real humanizing aspects to the story that connect it, make it appealing to women or anyone in general, just because it's so relatable.
Compared to the next texts.
Yeah.
The Oni. So do you all have any ways you would want to modify this story or anything you would want to change about them?
Not really.
No, not
I
this time for me.
thought they were pretty goddamn good stories.
Yeah.
We can all agree this time.
Yeah, adding the Disney aspect.
Disney and D and all, it's all good.
I still don't understand what
Remind me of Disney?
changed. No, what changed that light bulb in her head in the first one?
Yeah, I know. It's a very quick thing.
I think it's the fact that he finds her attractive.
Yeah.
It's like her first human contact, or at least
She doesn't enunciate it as much.
Contact.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, it's all for the whole story. It's like, no, I'm gonna eat him. No, I'm gonna eat him. No, I'm gonna eat him.
But she has it like in her internal monologue of, I don't really want to, but no, I will do it. But I can just put it off a little bit. Like,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I feel like one well-placed thought bubble would have fixed all this shit.
No, some like the first one.
Well,
she,
that would
like,
have gonna turn your hentai takes.
Maybe
darkness, but
maybe it's just because you read it.
How are you getting that at dark? I'm just saying,
You're just,
character motivation.
I know. I'm just saying, like
Sorry.
you keep bringing up how like it would have turned differently, and I'm just like, I know you. You're the dark writer, so you would have just made him get eaten by the end.
But he had,
Not into fucking war.
I'm not saying you
Completely
are.
different tag.
I'm just saying you would have snuffed him, like the slime.
But yeah, maybe if you had read it not in the Old English.
That's a really good point. I have no idea what I missed.
What were you about to say, Annie? Or go ahead.
No.
I was well, like like for the first day, I guess it's kind of my weeby versus like my like she was like I guess we're both like they were both kind of tsundere about it, like they're like is that like I won't not gonna eat you, but then I'm like, you say I'm cute? Oh my god, you say I'm cute? Like that kind of response.
Baka.
Baka, yeah. It's not like don't want to eat you, Baka kind of response. Yeah.
Not like I like your compliments, Baka.
Yeah.
Do you all have any questions about either of these texts you would want to ask the author?
How long is the office worker?
For the snake girl from Monster Musume, they have an actual hug pillow for her that's several feet long.
Yeah, they do.
It's like several meters long. It's like yeah.
Isn't it like 60 feet?
It's something.
It's like that.
It's something fairly ridiculous.
Yeah.
I would like to ask.
What is the aspect in it?
No, like, because when you look at the second one, and this guy is listing off all things he loves about Lamia, I kind of wonder if we're hearing narration from the writer's point of view. You know what I mean?
Of what he likes.
Yeah, exactly.
What they
7
like.
meters. Yeah, 7 meters. So like
So what's
35
feeling about this
feet.
to
Yeah.
you?
Plus.
You want to know what it is that the author himself likes about snake girls?
Wait, did you see that? Shout out to the 30-day returns. Who the fuck wants to use one of those?
It's called washing machines, God.
But they have to
How are
pay
you
for
going
the,
to put that in the washing machine?
they have to pay for the return shipping, though, Chaz.
God damn, you hang that up to dry, it'd be like a flag.
Can I have it?
It's your birthday wish.
That's what she wanted for her birthday.
Found my birthday.
It's a hell of a novelty. I saw this fucking. There's a Gundam hug pillow once that was funny as fuck, and I was like, I need to get that and put that on a wall somewhere.
So do you all think there's anything about these stories people could apply to their sex lives?
More bondage. I don't really know other than that.
This is a centaur girl one that's shaped like an L.
You know, those pillows are comfortable.
They better be.
Yeah. It gives you neck and back support.
You can write it.
You ride the fucking. I mean, yes, you can get a lot of physical exercise with it.
So what do you all think the role of this tag played in the story and the sex acts? How do you all feel that the tag affected the narrative and the visual of the
They were
story?
the main component.
Yeah, it was all about that.
So you think Monster Girl definitely plays a bigger effect on the narrative than some other tags?
Yeah.
At least Lamia does. Now, again, I keep drawing allusions to the next episode because I read it all at once, but that one not so much.
So what do you all think these texts say about anything like related to gender relationships or things that might need to be changed between gender relationships or in society?
What do you think it says? Well, go on.
Because you can't like judge a book by its cover, I guess.
Yeah.
Stop being so picky, God.
I think I wrote that in my notes, like, stop judging books by its cover. Also, to have a little more, not self-respect, like self-confidence, you know. So what if somebody says they don't like you? Just go move on. There are billions of people in this world.
Everything is somebody's fetish. You got a hair lip? Somebody out there is a guy named Tom. Not our Tom. Different Tom. First name that came to mind. Shit. That's a guy that we interact with.
Now we know what Tom has talked to you about.
Oh, fuck.
Now we know what Tom likes. All right.
For real? No. For real? But anyway, there's a different Tom out there. That's constantly beating off to hair lip porn.
Do you all think there's
Just hot, crusty loads all the time.
Okay.
Stop.
What was
hair
the
lip porn.
question?
Do you all think there's any sort of position the author of the text of these two texts are arguing in their stories? Do you think there's like a statement they're trying to say with these?
Oh, like position. I'm like,
Snake girl position, bro.
I genuinely think the statement is there are billions of people out there. You will find somebody that likes you.
I find you attractive.
Yeah.
at least when they're drunk, at least.
If anything.
Here, Adam with the reality check. 3, 2, 1.
So since we're going to keep talking about monster girls in the next couple of episodes, what do you think that you see applying these stories that you're going to see in other monster girl stories?
Again, I refer to my original thesis of xenophilia.
Anybody else have any ideas that you're expecting now to see more in monster girl stories?
How's that?
I expect the monster girl to overpower just because they're, not human.
Yeah,
You-
again, I there's that thread of femdom that seems to run through these stories, at least to some extent. It might switch, power might change hands mid-coitus, but it seems like it always starts with the woman being in some position of
If anything,
control.
at least the knowledge that the woman has power.
Yeah. Didn't crush you with the finger or something?
So here comes the part of the podcast where we put together our own hentai story. And this time we're going to put together specifically a Lamia monster girl story. So how many of us are this time? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of us. We need a D6. So I'm going to roll the D6. We'll go around the table with the D6, and whoever gets the first roll is going to come up with the setting for our Lamia monster girl story. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah, damn it! I get the setting. I don't like going first. I feel like I influence it too much. But just because Chaz says that there's no monster girl sci-fi stories, we're going to set it in a spaceship. Let's say it's a spaceship yacht, so it's like a cruise ship in space, basically.
So we're talking like Lando's party bar.
Like Fifth Element.
Yeah, I'll go with more of the Fifth Element than Lando's party barge.
I've never actually seen Fifth Element, but I'll do my damnedest.
It is the best
Neither.
movie ever. Watch it.
The ending of the movie takes place on a cruise ship that gets invaded by aliens. Well, there's also already aliens on the ship. The bad aliens invaded. Regardless, okay, who's going to come up with our Lamia protagonist?
Just imagine like a genuine cruise ship, but it's in space.
All right, Anna, come up with our Lamia protagonist.
Okay. Well, now I'm just thinking about...
The Fifth Element.
Yeah.
You can make this as...
A parody.
You have the
Okay.
power.
The Lamia protagonist is going to be a retired vet. I feel like we've done both spaceship and retired vet before. Okay, never mind.
That happened.
She's a retired spaceship.
That happened in the tentacle one.
Yeah,
Or
okay.
the onsen one. That ended up involving spaceships and tentacles.
They
somehow.
both, yeah. Okay. Scrap that. Okay.
Go to a cruise ship then.
Yeah, so we're in the cruise ship. It's going to be a male Lamia because we didn't do that.
I don't think Lamias can't be males.
Why not?
Just because they're only women. I mean, you can make that if you
Fight
want. You
me.
can have a snake boy if you want, but
We're having a snake.
I will point out that this is Monster Girl Month, but I'm open-minded.
yeah,
It is Monster Girl.
Oh, you're
Okay.
giving me a Funari.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
This snake girl has 2 tails.
in mythology, some people that wrote about Lamias in mythology, like historical text, some of them included Lamias that had penises to add to the monstrosity of them. Not that I think they're monsters. That's why they were added, that they had a penis.
Okay, all right, whatever.
We have
We're
3
gonna
weeks in a
have,
row.
it's gonna be a girl, a lady with red short hair, And she is the key to save the world.
Oh, Lilu from Fifth Element.
Yes.
Okay, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Who's gonna come up with the person she's gonna have sex with? Reroll. 4. Who's this snake girl gonna have sex with?
The captain of the ship.
Okay. The captain of the cruise ship. Is there any details you want to add to him?
He's a very old man.
Oh,
You know, but he's also overweight, like the captains from Wally. So
No. Oh man, two movies we got in here now. All right. So
I love this crossover. Let's explore.
we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. With who's gonna come up? How this scenario starts to play out. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, Melinda. How does this Lamia, who's the key to saving the world, meet this overweight elderly spaceship cruise captain?
I don't know how to start that one.
how do they meet?
Or what scenario are we given here?
So
that's
they
more
have the
valid?
plant thing, right?
Okay.
I don't know how to. Actually, I don't know where that's gonna go. I don't know how to start that one.
Chaz, do you want to pass it
I
to Chaz?
Yeah,
have such
go
a
ahead.
good one for this.
Go ahead, go.
Well, I'll
for
let
it.
you pass the baton. You can give Chaz your initiative round.
Go for
You're gonna delay.
it. I
She's
don't
delaying.
know.
She's
It would be
delaying
so
her.
cool if you knew what that meant. Okay.
She's gonna delay her action.
Okay, so check it out. This elderly, overweight spaceship captain, right? To take more inspiration from Wall-E, he is actually so morbidly obese
Oh my god.
that the hover scooters cannot support him. So this Lamia, did we give the Lamia an actual duty on the ship?
No, she's just the key to saving the world
Okay,
somehow.
she's first mate. And part of her duty, with her strong, snake-like anaconda tail, she is actually the only method of conveyance that is mighty enough to lift the spaceship captain and take him to and fro. And they are discussing a cataclysmic event that may or may not rock this barge and affect the fate of billions beyond it.
Okay, so now Adam will be odd, Melinda can be even. How is this going to lead up to them having sex? Who did I say was odd? Adam. How does this result in sex?
Like, I guess, my goofy thought was, after Chad's thing was, when she was, I guess, propelling him forward through the ship, he noticed his pants is undone. She's curious, what is that little snake in there?
He's a Lamia too! This whole time!
I thought it was the last of my kind. So she uses her tail.
She's like, let me help you pull that tail out.
Interest in Snake Girls drops again.
It's like, why won't it come out? It's just so attached.
And then she realizes, oh, it's coming out. It's getting a little longer and a little bigger. Melinda, please give us the kind of sex they're about to have.
Well, she freaking gives him a hand job, technically, with her
Tail
tail
job, yeah.
Tail job.
Must
Toe
be.
job.
Never mind.
But it counts as a foot job, though.
You can give us any kind of crazy sexual acts you think would fit in this story.
I would think for after.
She gives him a tail job, she bondages him, and then...
It's like the
He
first
kinda-
time he's been picked up before now.
Yes.
She lifts up the huge belly with the tip of her tail.
Yeah, well, with her body, technically. Her snake body. And then... I don't know how to keep that going. I mean, she can also
That's
do
okay,
like
it's
the
Adam's
weird...
problem.
She could also do the weird wraparound thing. Have you seen where snakes, have that wraparound sex? Because
Oh,
he's
yeah.
too big, so he can't, because he would kill her.
So she's like, oh, I guess I'm going to do the work here now that
Yep.
I know what's happening.
And he's also enjoying the squeezing from her body, too.
And somehow them having sex saves the world.
Yeah,
Well, I
see,
don't-
they wrap
I
around.
had an idea for this,
Go ahead, Adam.
Because I guess they're all overweight from Wally, I guess. So then, she has say with him. He's like, "Damn, that felt good. I'm gonna lose some weight. I gotta do that again." After a while, he starts losing weight. he starts losing weight after a while. So he's like,
so much sex.
so much sex. Yes. And then he's like, I gotta tell the rest of the crew about this. They're like, how is he walking? I've never seen a guy walk before.
And then he's like, guys,
like, sex.
You can have more of it if you can move around more.
Yeah.
All right, let's name this story.
I was gonna say, like, if it was like a food, I was like the Tale of Two Tales, but it doesn't work. If it was a food, but no.
Snakes on a space cruiser.
Snakes on a Lovecraft.
I like that one.
Snakes on a Lovecraft.
Snakes on a Lovecraft. Did anybody else have any good suggestions?
Nope.
All right, this story is now titled Snakes on a Lovecraft. We hope you enjoyed this Lamia-centric Monster Girl episode of Monster Girl Month of the Hentai Literature Club. So thank you all for joining us for another episode of the Hentai Literature Club, where we talked about the tag of Monster Girls, specifically Lamias in Hentai. This is going to be part of the October Monster Girl Month, where we're going to be talking about Monster Girl, the tag Monster Girls, and the many kind of lovely ladies that pop up inside of it.
Are we gonna have like Thanksgiving themed ones?
I don't know.
I don't think
Turkey girl. Part of turkey.
Hey, wait. What
having
tags are there that it could be reasonably considered Thanksgiving? So, vor.
And the slime is like gravy.
Well, no. We don't want to. You could kind of like what ironically would fit.
I don't know. I was going to say Japanese people don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but we are.
Well, that's because we haven't brought them our freedom yet.
We did, Chaz. We got him our freedom twice. You baka.
I was going to say, well, we're sure as hell doing a Christmas episode, so be ready for Santa.
Santa's package is a gift for one and all.
Oh no!
Stop.
No, but yeah, if you all have anything, we really hope that you join us in the conversation in the comments wherever you're listening to this, whether it's YouTube, SoundCloud, or all the other places that this is posted to.
Or NSA somehow.
Yeah. Shout out to our
The
NSA
watch
guys.
list.
Yeah, no, we're actually I'm gonna set up on the Caffeinated Conquests Discord. If you're not already a part of it, you should join it. It's linked in the videos, right? We have a Caffeinated Conquest Discord. We're going to have a board now dedicated to the Hentai Literature Club where I'll probably post the stories we're going to be reading ahead of time, so if you want to join in the conversation and talk about hentai like it's real literature, which
It is.
then yeah, you can join us on Discord and join the conversation. And if you leave a comment on any of these videos, it might take me a while, but at some point I will get to it. And if not, Chaz will fill in for me. Although I try not to let that happen too often, which it has.
There's this weird... We have this weird dance where it's like I try not to move in too quickly because I want you to give your academic opinion, but at the same time I don't want people to feel like we're ignoring them. So there's like this weird push and pull of, somebody will talk to you at some point eventually. Your comment is very important to us. It will be answered in the order received.
Maybe we'll get on Twitch as well for Monster Girl Month and play some Monster Girl related games.
Yay.
Monster High?
Neko fucking par. Does that count?
Yep. Some cat girls are included in Monster Girls for some reason.
I have the nickel
Monster
bottles.
High. Or Monster School High, whatever.
Oh, Monster High from fucking Game Grumps.
Yeah.
Actually, you know
Or
what?
Monster Prom.
That would actually probably work really well.
Oh, what else?
Fap on.
Huh? Oh, Fap on. Do you want that to be the sign-off?
No.
This is the Hentai Literature Club and Fap on.
Do it.
Keep on fapping on. Somebody pull your cheek and make the noise. I can't
Keep
do
on
it that well.
fapping.
I am a man of few talents.
That's a sign-off now. It's a thing.
I thought this was the beginning.
No, well, I'm going to cut this up, basically.
Yeah.